Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next City of Echoes chapter analysis video. This one's going to be for chapter 2. Just before I start, I will mention that I do have YouTube channel membership and Patreon available if you would like to help support the channel. If you come in at the higher tiers, you will gain access to basically early versions of some of these videos before they go public, so you can be a little bit ahead of everyone else as I go through this really long series going through the chapters of this book. But anyway, let's jump in here with chapter 2. Very interesting chapter. It's basically made up of two separate scenes that kind of happen back to back. Of course, it's Jyn and Suzu on their way to make their bakery delivery to Pao's family tea house. But then afterwards, Jyn goes to the apothecary to get the medicine for her grandfather. So two very interesting scenes. So what happens here is that we just get some description of Ba Sing Se as the two of them make their way to Pao's family tea house. We see the two of them actually separate at this point. Suzu goes off to deliver a tray of pastries to Lady Liang's kind of just up the road, and then she'll come back to meet Jyn at Pao's because she has some of his order as well. So yeah, then we just get some interesting description, you know, like they do name like some of the streets and stuff like that, some of the locations in Ba Sing Se as we go through here, of course. And then we get to the tea house. So Jyn goes in through the back door and she gives her delivery to the character here, Manager Feng. Now, who this character is this character from this episode. Now, straight away we have to acknowledge that the book does get this wrong as far as we are aware. In that they would need to explain how this is not wrong for us to kind of go in that direction. So, the guy in front of Iroh here, this is the character the book calls Manager Feng, but we know as Pao. And this is the interesting part here. The reason we know this character's name is Pao previously is because of this very scene here. Now, it's from a different episode, but, you know, we see here a character directly referred to this guy as Pao. Sorry, Pao, but that's business for you, am I right? You know, I hope Pao is paying you well, and so on. That they literally refer to that guy who is, you know, the manager, because again, he goes on to say senior assistant manager because he is the manager, so he's giving him the position below his one here. So what's kind of gone on here? How did they kind of get this one wrong? The only way it makes sense is if we are to assume that that character Quan just doesn't have a clue who he's talking to. He just assumes the guy's name is Pao, even though it's not actually Pao. But he never corrects him if that's the case. And I think the big problem with this in the book here is just that it's not that they get the name of this very minor character wrong and they just call Pao Manager Feng. It's they follow it up by literally a quote from the text. Contrary to the name of Pao's family tea house, none of the Paos actually work here. So they double down on it. They make this like a fact about the tea house that, oh, none of the Paos actually work here, even though an episode literally refers to a guy working in there as being named Pao. So it's such a weird kind of point that they kind of do here, and it's just is like, come on. Because the main thing when it comes to continuity with this book is referencing the Ba Sing Se episodes, it feels weird to even get anything wrong when it comes to continuity, especially a very basic one like this where Jyn has the connection to that tea house and thus Zuko. You get the details surrounding that wrong is very odd to me. When Avatar Studios existing on the publishing side of things, we thought was meant to stop a lot of these type of issues happening. And here's one straight away. Look, they get the name of a minor character wrong and double down on it. It's unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. But yes, it's something that shouldn't be happening. We'll move on from it here, but it's worth mentioning in the analysis that, like, hey, continuity error. But anyway, yeah, what we get from the characterization of Feng here is that Jyn kind of highlights that she's done this before. She's preparing for him to be really particular about this as he hands over the delivery. He's going to analyze all the pastries and look for any of them that are slightly damaged or the design on them is slightly not perfect. He's going to demand a discount. We get the detail that Suzu always calls Manager Feng Rat Beetle just because he's so picky about this sort of stuff. And it's just a fun little scene here where they do characterize him a little bit more. He points out that like these look fine. Where's the rest of my order? This is where Jyn points out that yeah, Susu's just up the road finishing the another delivery. She'll be back with that stuff in a second. He's like, okay, cool. And then he calls in like, hey, come here, boy. Pick these up and put these out. And this is where we get this moment. I'll read this one out. A boy wearing an apron walks over with a scowl. His hair is short and spiky, sticking up all over the place. But what stands out the most about him is the prominent scar on his face, over his left eye. There's a dark patch that extends from his hairline down to his ear, the skin puckered and the ear mangled. A burn. What are you looking at? The boy snaps at me when he meets my eyes. I look away quickly, embarrassed to be caught staring. He brushes past me, and this is where he picks up the pastries and goes to put them out. So that is the first time that Jyn encounters Zuko, or Lee, as she will kind of come to know him, of course. So really fun moment just to get that there, because like, of course, the date scene we are going to get in the book, but it's not going to happen for another bunch of chapters, of course. But this is the first meeting, and we know she will go on to come back to the tea shop multiple times, in part because she is interested in him. But we will continue on. As she looks outside, she sees Susu. She's talking to some of the guards. We see that one of the guards is actually trying to chat her up, and we get the interesting detail from kind of Jin's point of view. But I know Susu doesn't like boys, so he's dealing with a hopeless cause. Still, he tries his best, and she kind of gets herself out of the situation. We see that she does have a lot of people who do admire her because she is so confident, and she puts on a bit of a show of kind of walking out of the situation. She does like a twirl, and it's just like, they can't help it. They're intrigued by my style. So it's just an interesting to see like that Susu is just like, she has admirers actually, but she doesn't like boys. As for that line, I don't believe the book at any other point particularly goes into that in any more detail, because Susu doesn't really have like a romance interest at any point in the book, so they don't like address like, oh, that means she's into girls, so she has a girlfriend at some point, or doing anything like that. They don't lean in that direction at all. Even if you're thinking maybe Susu Jyn is maybe the relationship, they don't even seem to go in that direction, because the book, I think, very clearly doubles down on the idea they are friends, almost to the point where they're sisters, because they're so close, they're almost family, rather than it being a romantic thing here. We just don't really address kind of Susu and romance for the most part, except for the fact that she has quite a few admirers, because she's just such an interesting person ultimately. It's mostly Jyn who has the kind of romantic moments with Lee, of course, and another romance interest who is introduced in this chapter, but we'll get into that. So yeah, that's that. Then Susu goes in to complete her part of the delivery to Pao's tea house, and Jyn notes that even if he was going to demand some sort of a like refund or a discount, Susu is so charming with people. She's going to be able to even charm Fung, who's usually really picky about this stuff, so that there isn't any deduction. So that's an interesting point. Afterwards, she comes out with the money and basically points out that, hey, there's 2 new servers at Pao's. Did you meet them? And she's kind of like, not really. But she, in her head, she's thinking about the boy with the scar and thinking like, where did he come from? Did he encounter the Fire Nation before, just like I did? So her initial thoughts are, oh, he's burned. My family has been hurt by the Fire Nation. Was he hurt by them too? That makes her interested in him. And Susu kind of looks at Jyn, kind of lost in thought about him, and is like, the younger guy though, he's kind of cute, right? And Jyn completely blushes at this, like, oh, I don't know. And she continues to make fun of her. Is my little Jyn blushing? Stop it. And you just highlight how good Susu is with people, that even the guard that she rejected and kind of got him embarrassed by the others, she's able to make them kind of laugh again by kind of making Jyn a bit embarrassed. This is where Susu gives Jyn some of the money. Jyn tries to give her back the money because in her mind, like, the Wens have done so much for her that she's like, everything else you do for me, like just kind of treat that as my payment. Like you don't need to pay me as well. But they won't see any of that. So it's just like, no, take the money, Jyn. You need it. They like Suzu asked her, are you coming for dinner? No, I have to brew the tonic for Gong Gong tonight. So I'm gonna get dinner myself. I'll see you tomorrow for. And they say it together, Cookie Bun Day, and they highlight that this happens at the weekend because the cookie buns take longer to make, but everyone loves it when the cookie buns are available. This is when we switch over to the second half of the chapter, which is Jyn going to the apothecary to get Gong Gong's medicine, of course. So we arrive at the Hu Yuan apothecary. That's HU space YUAN apothecary. And so yeah, she heads inside. We just get a description here. The sign has some nice calligraphy on it, and this is basically where we get introduced to the idea that Gong Gong is a calligrapher, and so she notes that he would be very impressed by the calligraphy on the apothecary. What it says is, healing rivers flow through here, and mountains stand strong against the storm. So that's cool. She goes in and finds out that it's not the usual people working there. There's kind of two guys kind of hanging out, and then behind the counter is a younger boy around the same age as them. And she kind of feels like, do I know him from somewhere? I think I kind of do. But anyway, but before that, like, we get a description of a lot of the apothecary kind of ingredients and stuff like that. Wood frogs, bobbling in blue murk, cat gator teeth, green iguana, parrot claws, and so on. They just have every ingredient imaginable. We get a brief kind of connection here where she describes, like, this is particularly impressive in Ba Sing Se compared to what, like, the healer who visited their village, Da Ying. They had a lot of stuff, but it's nothing in comparison to what's in this apothecary. But yeah, this is the reveal of my home village of Da Ying comes up, so that's an interesting detail. So yeah, she gives in the order for the medicine here. This is where I think we get Gong Gong's name here, actually. She says, order for Guan, Guan. So I'm guessing that is what Gong Gong's name is, because I don't think they explain this anywhere else in the book. So yeah, because it's like the guy behind the counter's first time dealing with Jyn, he doesn't know that this is like a regular order. So he's like giving her all the information about it. Don't take this with this, da 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 da. And she's trying to reach into her pockets to get the money out. But the only money she has at the moment, because she forgot the rest of her money, is the money Suzu gave her, which doesn't cover the medicine. So it creates this kind of awkward situation where she's kind of like, oh no, I don't have enough to pay for this. Is it all right to use this as like a deposit? I'll take the medicine and I'll pay the rest like next time out, like I'm a regular customer. And it's an unfortunate one because as it goes on, it's just this disaster of an interaction between the character we are introduced to here, who is Xuan, Xuan. I'm not sure what the official pronunciation on this one is. I have to wait until the audiobook comes out, I guess. But I'll do my best with the pronunciation until we get there. So yeah, Xuan is his name. And we'll find out that basically, like, shortly, that this is the apothecary's son, who just happens to be helping out this day. And so initially what's happening here is just it's becoming a bit of an awkward situation on both sides of things, where like he doesn't know her enough to kind of trust that like she maybe will come back, even though to other people who would work there she is a regular customer and she's handling things okay. It feels like maybe he's about to go in that direction, but then the other two boys kind of reveal themselves to be his friends, and they come over and sort of start like making fun of her, making fun of him for how kind of awkward this situation is becoming. And they're the ones who really make this go kind of south effectively, where they start kind of making out like, hey, why don't you help her out? Like she could help you out by like, give him a kiss or something like that, make it worth his while. And, so they start embarrassing him. Jin's beginning to get embarrassed, and Juan kind of just kind of gets really angry at this point. It's just like, enough. If you don't have the money, then you can come back next week. Jyn tries to kind of take the package with her. He takes it back. Really kind of trying to argue that, like, I'm a loyal customer. Talk to Dr. John. Jan here, who is the apothecary. He says, we're not a charity, go away. And this is where, like, oh, it's gone really wrong here. And the boys are continuing to make fun of kind of both of them, basically. She is fighting back tears as she leaves without the medicine, saying, I refuse to let them see me cry. So just things going really okay, and then kind of disaster just because of some awkward events at the apothecary. Now we'll follow this up at the start of the next chapter. It's not that just kind of stays as is. We do get some immediate kind of follow up next time out, but that is where chapter 2 comes to an end. So very interesting there. In the same chapter, we actually get introduced to the main kind of love interests for Jyn in this book, both at kind of the same time. So Zuko, aka Lee, and also Chuan, or Juan, whatever way you want to say his name. And yeah, this kind of continues to be, this will be a bit of a trend with Jyn and Chuan's relationship of just, yeah, a lot of the initial scenes are very, like, awkward. It doesn't feel like it goes particularly well, but they are going to be forced together in more and more scenes as things go on, as the plot properly kind of occurs, basically. She needs to interact with him more as the story kind of progresses, and it actually becomes a pretty interesting dynamic within the book. So this is the introduction of, like, a main character. Like, sure, Lee, aka Zuko, is in a couple of scenes in this book, but Chuan is, like, in essence, like, the secondary main character in the book, because of course we know from the description of the book, you know, Suzu's going to be kind of quote-unquote taken away shortly, as we'll kind of see. The book kind of switches from being quite Jyn Suzu focused to being Jyn Chuan focused. So that is an interesting thing. But yeah, just a very awkward scene. And the two boys, like, they do actually cover this a little bit as a plot point, that, like, you know, why is he hanging out with these two? These two are kind of idiots to a certain degree. And, you know, it's him kind of maybe as we go on realizing, like, oh, do I really need to be around these two? But we'll see that play out as things go on. But yeah, it's a unfortunate situation here, because it's not just that, oh, she had an embarrassing thing trying to buy stuff, but the fact that it was medicine for her grandfather who was really, really sick and needs it. But at the same time, it's like, Chuan is, like, he's not super wrong if he just maybe doesn't know how much of a regular she necessarily is. It's, like, maybe a bit overly suspicious, but you can sort of see how the scene just kind of got out of everyone's hands, just with everyone kind of making fun of everyone else, basically. So I think very fun chapter here, just lots of details here, and just that first reference of, like, a novel original scene where Jyn meets Zuko is actually quite fun, in addition to just a lot of the kind of teasing, Suzu's kind of light teasing of Jyn over her kind of immediate crush on Lee, and then more bullying-esque stuff happening towards the end. But yeah, that is chapter 2. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on chapter 2 of City of Echoes. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.